My name is Josie Duncan and I have dyscalculia. Dyscalculia is a learning disability that affects the way that our brains process numbers. Because of this, it's often described as number dyslexia. However, this term is too simple because it affects other things such as your sense of direction and ability to read maps, your left from your right, and your sense of time. So the combination of all of these things sometimes leads us to find simple tasks trickier and a wee bit more overwhelming than they ought to be. I'm a woman in her 20s who cannot read a clock. And I'm aware that this is so easy for other people, but to me it's just this circle full of numbers and lines and things are moving around. It makes absolutely no sense. Dyscalculia has been researched a lot less than dyslexia or ADHD, so it's likely that only the most severe cases, such as myself, are actually diagnosed. I was diagnosed with dyscalculia when I was 19 years old, and while I wish that I had received the diagnosis sooner so that I could have had help in school, I'm really glad to have the diagnosis now because I still get help with things in my adulthood, such as my tax return as a self-employed person. We live in a world that is completely full of numbers. From ordering a wee coffee, to a bus timetable, to entering your PIN, we come face to face with numbers so many times throughout our day-to-day lives. When I'm writing down a number, it's as though there's a pal beside me shouting out random numbers trying to put me off, but it's just my brain trying to reach the correct number. If you're wondering if you might have dyscalculia, see if any of this sounds familiar to you. You are terrible at maths. You struggle to read a map. Clocks for some reason are just tricky to read. You took longer to learn your left from your right in school. You could not tell me how much a house or a car would typically cost. You sometimes forget people's names upon meeting them the once, even when you ought to remember. And anything to do with numbers is just a wee bit fear instilling. If this sounds familiar to you, then there is a chance that you might have one of the most underdiagnosed learning disabilities about. If you do have dyscalculia or just really struggle with maths and feel a wee bit isolated, just know that you are not alone. I once tipped 100% of a dinner, not because it was tasty, not because I'm lovely or rich, but because I put too many zeros in my calculator when I was just trying to tip 10%. Learning disabilities are so often associated with children, and to me this is really odd because they're rarely something that we grow out of. I also worry that this association can lead adults to feel a wee bit ashamed of having a learning disability, and there shouldn't be any shame in it at all. We can't choose the way that our brains are wired. If you relate to this video, it could be worth speaking to your GP or somebody at your school or college because there might be help available to you that you don't even know about. And whether or not you do, it's always good to learn about the weird and wonderful ways in which our brains can work.